Hi, this is Khalid Beg and welcome to yet another episode of India This Week.
नमस्ते, मैं हूं आमना अंसारी और स्वागत है आपका इंडिया दिस वीक के नए एपिसोड में। और आज के हमारे गेस्ट हैं वंस अगेन अभिजीत अय्यर मित्रा। अभिजीत जी, आपका स्वागत है इंडिया दिस वीक में।
धन्यवाद, थैंक यू फॉर हैविंग मी।
और कैसी रही आपकी वेकेशन?
बहुत अच्छी। मैं तो अल-कुद्स गया और मैं इतना आतंकवादी निकला कि जिस दिन मैं अल-कुद्स गया उसी अगले दिन दंगा फसाद होना शुरू हो गया फिलिस्तीनियों और इजरायलियों के बीच। तो मैं बहुत खुश हूँ अभी कि मेरा इतना जियोपॉलिटिकल इम्पैक्ट होता है। देखिए, जब मैं उज़्बेकिस्तान गया था, उन्होंने समरकंद में जो बाबर की मूर्ति थी वो निकाल दिया। फिर जब मैं नॉर्थ कोरिया गया, उसके बाद डोनाल्ड ट्रंप ने नॉर्थ कोरिया के साथ शांति प्रस्ताव रखा। जब भी मैं कहीं जाता हूँ, कुछ पता नहीं है अच्छा चीज है या बुरा चीज है, पर मजेदार चीज जरूर होता है।
Abhijit, today, unknowingly you have confessed that Illuminati tumhi ho. You are the Illuminati.
I'm part of the great Illuminati conspiracy. Quite right.
Abhijit, in our last video, your fans were asking to replace that yellow t-shirt. You want to put it up for auction? बहुत लोगों ने comment किया.
So I told you, I have about 8-9 yellow t-shirts.
Okay.
There are 2 sets of the same t-shirt because, in my particular role of XXXL that I am right now because of my tummy, there are very few of these t-shirts that fit me. So there's this one design from Decathlon and there's this one plain shirt design from UCB. They're the only ones that fit me. So I buy 4 or 5 of them and keep them. So there's nothing I can do. I also have the same blue shirt and the same red shirt because, like I said, I mean, it's only Decathlon and UCB that seems to have my size. Otherwise, I've tried buying it on Amazon, kuch nahi. But no, I shall keep a variety of things available to me.
All right. So because a lot of people ask that. So guys, you have the answer. Aisa nahi hai, we don't read your comments and we don't take your concerns. They're like, Abhijit ko bolo ye yellow t-shirt. We're like, okay. And he doesn't want to do an auction, even though right now, he's doing all these world-changing events and you hate him, you like him, but you can't ignore him. But that's Abhijit.
If I do auction, मैं क्या पहनूंगा इसमें?
The other
फिर से जाके वही टी-शर्ट नया खरीदना पड़ेगा ना? हाँ.
The other
आपके फैन आपको गिफ्ट कर देंगे.
Abhijit, another thing, I mean, आज topic थोड़ा late discuss करेंगे. You are loved and hated equally. How does that make you feel? Like they can't ignore you. Even your haters are like, yes, Abhijit. Like they've got addicted to you now.
Yeah. So look, I don't run anybody's agenda. ठीक है ना? I just say what I feel is right or accurate at that given point of time. ठीक है ना? So everybody used to call me Lockheed Martin ka dalla and Boeing ka dalla and American agent. And then when the war in Ukraine starts, they're like, BC ये हो क्या रहा है कि ये इतना anti-American है, and my American friends are messaging me saying, what the hell happened to you? And I'm like, I'm just giving them the verbal equivalent of this. And it's, so, I'm my own person. And if people like me, great. If they don't like me, boo-hoo-hoo, I don't give a damn, because you know what? My financial and mental happiness does not depend on any of them. So I'm so good at my job that people can't sack me. I mean, it's my bosses have always told me, Abhijit, you're a lot of trouble, but you're just that slightly worth more than the trouble you cause. So it's all good for me.
So we'll actually talk about what we want to talk about, and you can tell us usme bhi tumhara haath hai ki nahi. So the world, of course, is talking about the whole Twitter issue and real life Tony Stark, Elon Musk jumping in there. He also wrote the other day, I love you, and I saw Abhijit Richela. I write, I love you too. So Abhijit, I was reading some of your absolutely brilliant stellar articles on CNN, IBN, in which you had spoken about Twitter is designed in such a way, the algorithms are designed, in such a way that it is meant to cause strife, anarchy, aid civil war. It, it backs the worst of terror organizations against any nation state. That was your argument, what it's doing vis-a-vis India. Of course, for readers like us also, we realize that Taliban has an official handle on Twitter and Trump doesn't have it. So that's the thing. So if you could start from start, Abhijit, when it was started, was the aim always that? And if you could help us understand that there were some very important things you written, that in the Libya invasion also, how America, told that let Twitter work around for some hours and to cause that strife. So if you could start from the start, and when did it fall into the hand of communist and pan-nationalists?
Right. So basically what's happened is there have been two different trends in Twitter that have generally controlled Twitter, right? One is as a tool of American foreign policy. And you remember the Tahrir Square and what happened in Egypt was called the Twitter Revolution. It was literally called the Twitter Revolution because all the mobilization happened on Twitter, right? So at that time, what had happened during Tahrir Square was that Twitter was down for maintenance. It was scheduled for a 24-hour shutdown for maintenance. The US State Department actually told them, do not reschedule your maintenance for some time later after this government, after Hosni Mubarak is pulled out. And they complied. This is public knowledge. This is mentioned by them publicly, openly in writing and documents, right? So this has been this thing that any place where you can promote an anti-government or regime agenda, Twitter is used as a tool. Now, what in India this means is that it's fundamentally giving a voice to all kinds of loony left elements. So for example, there's this thing called Ambedkar's Caravan, who says and draws images of the most horrible, nasty things about Hindus in general. Now, personally, I believe that's perfectly fine. Okay, but that same rule needs to be applied to everybody. But it will not. Okay, so certain other things, against say Islam or Jews or whatever will be removed, or against homosexuals will be removed. One of my tweets was deleted because there was a particularly ugly creature who came in Delhi Pride dressed as a woman with a very thick mush and beard. And he's not a trans person, he just does that to get attention. And I said, and my tweet was, my eyes, why did you inflict this on me? I tweeted to Shefali. And I was forced to delete my tweet, and Shefali was forced to delete her tweet.
Right.
Okay. Now, why? Why is that protection given? Okay. So now, where does this come from? This comes from all this Democrat talking points, the woke agenda essentially, which is the ultra-left talking points of the American left, which then gets coded into the language. So, things like inherited privilege or CRT or inherent systemic racism. It gets coded into the Google language. And since all these companies collaborate, those same algorithms get filtered into Twitter algorithms, which then become, and because your hiring is fundamentally woke shits from anywhere, especially in a software company, especially for the blue collar jobs like monitoring blue tick appeals against bans and things like that. If you're not a blue tick, it's just algorithm. There's no way you can appeal it. If you are a blue tick, you can appeal it, but that's why these woke shits are employed. Now, why do you employ woke shits? Because remember, fundamentally, they are unemployable. Their employability comes not from them being good at a job. It comes from their victimhood narrative, their single point identity. Their dhanda is the victim narrative. They have no skill other than being a victim. Right? So it's a very loyal employee who will endure a lot of crap because they have no other job alternatives and they will lose job security or financial security the moment they're removed. So you keep your employees on permanent tenterhooks. The second is politically correct culture, because you cancel culture rather. Because what happens is, when you have a cancel culture and things like hate speech, which are never clearly defined, your entire management board, everybody's on tenterhooks. So it's also a fantastic tool of corporate control. You remember how Apple, in the pre-cancel culture days, how Apple was able to break a lot of molds and things like that and come up with a new product and, you know, break molds. But you tell me, since cancel culture came about, tell me one company that has brought about a design or game shifting product. Not one. It's ossifying because people want to hang on to their monopolies. Today, it was precisely because of a lack of cancel culture that a company like Apple was able to destroy Nokia. But because of cancel culture today and the fear of being outspoken or whatever, Apple will always enjoy its monopoly position, but nobody of a great genius or this thing will become the next Apple to unseat in this Apple. So think of Apple as the new Nokia, ubiquitous as a phone. You will never have, as long as cancel culture continues and that fear of a corporate environment. It's all about maintaining your monopoly. Essentially, it's a monopoly and restrictive trade practices abuse without actually breaking the word of the law.
Right. Fantastic.
Right. Abhijit, we know that Elon Musk owns some around 9% share of Twitter, and उसने ये भी ऑफर किया है कि जो रेस्ट ऑफ द शेयर है वो $54 पे वो पर शेयर बाय कर लेगा. तो ये जो एक ऑफर है, इट साउंड्स वेरी गुड फॉर द शेयर होल्डर्स, बट व्हाट इज द रीजन कि जो ट्विटर की इस वक्त बोर्ड डायरेक्टर हैं वो नहीं चाहते ऐसा हो, और इसके लिए उन्होंने एक स्ट्रैटेजी भी अपनाई है जो पॉइजन पिल के नाम से जानी जाती है. प्लीज आप हमें एक्सप्लेन कीजिए कि ये पॉइजन पिल है क्या, बेसिकली इन अ लेमन टर्म्स, एंड ये क्यों कर रहे हैं, इसके पीछे रीजन क्या है, व्हाई एंटायर थिंग्स हैपनिंग.
तो पहले देखिए, ये जो गोल्डमैन सैक्स का जो रिकमेंडेशन था इंटरनली टू ट्विटर, वो था कि अगर आपको पर शेयर $30 मिल जाए, आप बेचो. ठीक है. अब इलॉन, ये थोड़े 2 साल पहले थे, अभी का वैल्यूएशन जो इलॉन मस्क ने दिया है वो 30% ज्यादा है देन द वैल्यूएशन. ठीक है. इस वुड मीन 100% बाय आउट ऑफ ट्विटर. अब इसमें प्रॉब्लम क्या है, अभी इनका एजेंडा दिखाई दे रहा है. 2 एजेंडा है. ट्विटर का क्या एजेंडा था, ये किस्म से एक सोशल, वो प्रॉफिटेबल नहीं हो सकता है, पर जो भी ट्विटर के बोर्ड पे है, जैसे लोग एक कॉन्डम इस्तेमाल करते हैं, वो उसे एक कॉन्डम की तरह इस्तेमाल करते हैं सोशल प्रोस्टिट्यूशन करने के लिए. मैं ट्विटर का बोर्ड मेंबर हूं, इसीलिए प्रेसिडेंट ओबामा आपको मेरे से मिलना पड़ेगा. एक सोशल क्लाइंबिंग का ये है. तो ये लोग क्या करते हैं कि दे यूज इट एज अ टूल ऑफ सोशल प्रोग्रेशन एंड ब्लैकमेल इन अ सेंस. इट इज ऑल्सो, ये एक आइडियोलॉजिकल अड्डा बन गया है कि इधर प्रॉफिट इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं है, इडियोलॉजी इंपॉर्टेंट है. क्योंकि नैरेटिव जो सेट होता है वो एक किस्म से ट्विटर पे ही सेट होता है. ठीक है ना. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, you know, if you want to make a nuanced case, Twitter is not the platform for you. पर अगर आप कहीं पैनिक छेड़ना चाहते हैं, आग आग आग, it's just what? It's 12 characters. Aag, well, fire in English is 4 characters, so 12 characters. Aag is technically 2 syllables in Hindi, so it's 6 syllables. Aag, matra, aag. Bas. Okay? And you've set fire. So Twitter is एक चिंगार की तरह. सब नैरेटिव उधर से शुरू होते हैं और ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट टूल ऑफ कंट्रोल है. कल आपने अगर देखा होगा, ये मीका ब्रेजेंस्की नाम की एक घोंचू है अमेरिकन टीवी पे, वो बोल रही है कि इलॉन मस्क का ट्विटर खरीदना बहुत डेंजरस है क्योंकि वो नहीं बता सकता है दूसरों को क्या सोचना चाहिए. वो हमारा काम है जो हम दूसरों से बोलते हैं कि आपको क्या सोचना चाहिए और कैसे उसके बारे में सोचना चाहिए. ठीक है ना. तो things, for example, the way they banned talk of election manipulation in Biden's victory, how they banned talk of the innocence of the January 6th so-called rioters, how they banned talk of Hunter Biden's laptop. ये सब उन्होंने बैन करके रखा था ना. How they banned lots of COVID information, all of which turned out to be correct argument. तो इनका क्या है? ट्विटर देखिए, गूगल फॉर प्रॉफिट है, फेसबुक फॉर प्रॉफिट है, ट्विटर इज नॉट फॉर प्रॉफिट. ट्विटर वो चिंगार है. वो ट्विटर वो, अगर आपने घर पे गैस का नॉन ऑटोमेटिक गैस का फ्लेम बटरफ्लाई का चूल्हा रखा है जिसमें ऑटोमेटिक पाइजो इलेक्ट्रिक लाइटर नहीं है, ये वो लाइटर है जिससे आप बाकी चीजों को जलाते हैं. तो आप उनसे लाइटर छीन रहे हैं. तो ट्विटर का ये है. अब as per this thing, if the shareholders' interest is what is important to you, then you have to sell. वो ये करना नहीं चाहते, तो वो क्या करेंगे कि वो शेयर्स बांट देंगे, वो 3-4 गुना शेयर्स बढ़ाएंगे और उन सब का वैल्यूएशन ऊपर जाते रहेगा. तो क्या होगा कि then after that अगर वो 2 गुना भी शेयर बढ़ाएंगे तो इस बंदे को फिर, because it's not a publicly listed company, so if फिर इस बंदे को he will have to pay double the amount for it, and the belief is that will deter him. It's illegal, by the way. You can't do it under American. So what they're doing is technically illegal. There will be a court challenge. So देखते हैं क्या होता है. पर देख लीजिए, हर चीज प्रॉफिट के लिए होता है. ट्विटर कभी भी प्रॉफिट के लिए नहीं हुआ है. ये प्योरली फॉर ideological sounding purposes. क्योंकि आप देखेंगे कि पराग तो वैसे चुतिया है, पर जो उसके तो चेहरे से पता चल जाता है. पर जो जैक डॉर्सी था वो गांजेड़ी था. गांजेड़ी तो बहुत ये होता है, वो मेथेडी था या पता नहीं क्रिस्टलेडी था, पता नहीं क्या था. पर जो भी था, उसके तो पैसा और जगहों से आता है. ट्विटर isn't the only nest in which he's put all his eggs. So he has other sources of revenue which are very profitable. But Twitter was the crown jewel for signaling and outreach in the entire world, more than Facebook, more than Instagram, more than any of these other things.
No wonder Anna loves it so much. It's the ultimate weapon of mass destruction. The actual WMD. Abhijit, you had also made an argument that the fact checkers on Twitter are the biggest frauds, and they are the ones who, actually propagate the most highest amount of fake news. Could you defend that argument of yours?
Sure. So, for example, let me give you the example of the Indian so-called fact checker for alt news. Right. They used to go around claiming that they had this fault news. They used to go around claiming that they had ICFN certification, International Fact Checkers, IFCN. International Fact Checkers Network of the University of Florida, or some, God knows, some university like that. It turns out that their application was rejected. They were signatories to this thing, but they never corrected people when they used to be claimed to be ICFN, whatever it is, IFCN, ICFN. My worry is ICFAI, the International Chartered Accountants Federation of India, shouldn't sue me. Fault News can sue me, but not IFCN can sue me, but not ICFAI. Right. But they went on, didn't lie, but they used to mislead. Okay. What they also do is they use the validity of the fact checking of their website to publish all kinds of shit on their personal Twitter handle because it has the rubbed off legitimacy of having been fact checked. Okay, so they're not publishing it on their website because that would affect the fact checking card, this thing. Just go do a search of how many tweets that boy Zubair has deleted. Okay, you remember, and sometimes it is blatant even in this thing. So for example, where he has dismissed some letter that Vivek Agnihotri put up yesterday or day before, it's, dekho isme spelling mistake hai. Gee, I mean, I can show you, because The Sunni population in India, which has the worst educational scores, development indicators, would never make spelling mistakes. They would always use a word ka spell check before they put out some jihadi document. When there were those videos during COVID of certain mullahs spitting on certain foods, what was the thing? It is customary practice. That is not what we're concerned about. We're not concerned about if it is a customary practice. The fact is you're spitting on the food.
Right.
Okay.
You had caught
So
them
they
in the
do-
Delhi riots, Abhijit. That video of Tahir Hussain. There was a way you had caught them. Could you can you recall what you had done? I remember you had spoken about how the timelines and what they had done.
I forget now.
Yeah.
I forget. But let me just check quickly. Did I mention Tahir Hussain?
Yeah, you said that a
let me
video
just
was
see.
shot and then they showed something and then you caught them somewhere. Like just the way you caught Hindu with that whole lies about the Rafale. Yeah, this was another one there.
Yeah, so they claimed that they checked the video of Tahir Hussain,
Right.
and the dates were wrong and it was a green screen or some shit like that. I forget now. And see, the problem is the metadata in these videos is intensely manipulable. I can actually manipulate the metadata on a video right now and send it to you, and this thing would be different.
Exactly.
Right. So if you turn off the auto updation of the date and time via the network, you can get whatever results you want.
Right. Exactly.
It's a common ruse, especially when it's an intentional attempt at creating evidence. You will automatically do that.
Exactly.
Right. So they've done all this crap before.
Exactly.
If you remember, there was the Hindu forgery. NRAM actually published 3 articles based on a complete forgery. It was front page news in the Hindu. Did you ever see these people fact check that? वो नाम के वास्ते in a collaborative way. Apparently they call up Congress leaders and say, "Sir, आप ना खुदा ये tweet डाल दो, हम आपको fact check करेंगे और आप बोलो hashtag alt news fact check." And they will also go along with it because they, exactly. So in chutiyon ka bahut ye rehta hai, because I've spoken to several Congress workers who've shown me their own WhatsApp saying, "See, I coordinate with these guys." Of course, they don't realize I'm friends with all these people. They don't realize I have more friends in the Congress than I do with the BJP. Well, I have more friends in the Congress than. Look, it's a class thing, okay? I don't mix with BJP types. They're not the ones I want to call over to my house. Most of them are like very low-class fellows, as opposed to Congress fellows.
No, they don't know how to make up their friendship mind with you. No?
But I don't care. I don't need their friendship. Okay, I'm sorry, but if you're not my social class, you're not going to get invited to my house. I'm very clear about this. At the same time, I am a very classist. At the same time, I will happily invite a rickshaw puller into my house if I find he's a good human being and something like that. Because see, for me, class is not where you are born. Class is what you do and how you behave. You can be wearing rags. You can have a 0 bank balance. That doesn't define class. Okay. The fact is, Congress walas just have better brains. I mean, you can't tell that from the way they're losing elections, but they think in a much deeper way about things. Rahul Gandhi accepted. Okay, Rahul Gandhi and the people he likes accepted, because I mean, वो तो अलग ही level का, वो तो, I mean, Rahul Gandhi का जो कोठरी है वो तो उसका कोई इलाज नहीं. But I have friends across the board. Most of my 90% of my friends are on the left. Okay, because they're just much smarter. Unfortunately, whether we like it or not, they're just smarter.
I agree.
So, ask something?
Yeah. I was just curious कि ये जो पूरा हो रहा है ट्विटर को लेकर के, इसमें इंडिया का जो स्टेक है, हमें कैसे देखना चाहिए और हमें अपने इंटरेस्ट को कैसे सेव करना चाहिए?
देखो, मेरा तो एक बहुत सिंपल केस है जो अभी राघव अवस्थी लड़ रहा है. I'm not a member of that case, but I brought that case together, which is suing Twitter for unjust suspension of people like Bharadwaj Speaks, which is to say True Indology and Woke Flicks, and people like that, where what we are basically demanding is algorithm transparency, because the algorithm is screwed. There is a lack of clarity on how the rules are applied, because there are no standard rules. They're very vague rules that can be interpreted in any way. And therefore, if you have rules that are vague and interpreted in any way, then clearly there is a bias in the hiring process of the person who interprets those rules, or there is a bias in the algorithm that enforces those rules. So that has to be sorted out. And of course, the first time they caved, when Aarti went to get her, Aarti Tikku Singh went to get her account restored, we made the mistake of not making it dependent on just that tweet being reinstated. We should have pursued it completely, which is what we decided to do in the second case, which is to pursue it completely and leave them no wriggle room. And guess what? They were so intimidated by Raghav's petition, which includes about 100 petitioners, that they brought about Kapil Sibal, Abhishek Manu Singhvi, all the big hitters, they got out. And all of them teamed up, Twitter, Google, everybody. Now you tell me इनका agenda नहीं है. पहले 2% के टटपुंजिये लॉयर ला रहे थे कोर्ट में, जो स्पेयर टाइम में बर्तन साफ करते हैं या उनकी बीबियां झाड़ू पोछा करती हैं पड़ोसन के घर में, और सडनली उनको कपिल सिब्बल और अभिषेक मनु सिंघवी जैसे हॉटशॉट लॉयर्स मिल गए. तो इसमें भी एक बहुत ये है, they understand the danger of what we're doing. So we are basically saying that it is not your arbitration, it is the law of the land that supersedes it. A. B, all of you are in violation of the Intermediary Act. Okay, because your very process of blue check certification is this thing, because it is not algorithm driven, it is personally driven by likes and dislikes. Okay. The third is this whole concept of हमने algorithm पे किया, which is why we are demanding now algorithm transparency.
Abhijit, lastly, Musk said, "I love you." You said, "I love you too." What do you want to tell Musk? And is he the one of the greatest free speech absolutists out there, Maverick?
Elon Musk shows you why wokeism is bad and why ultimately it is always the right that is going to save you, not the left. Because the right are doers, the left are talkers. They are doers they're not great talkers on Twitter. You know, the reason the right will always sound dumb to you on Twitter is because they actually have jobs like CA, doctor, and things like that. वो जाके ह्यूमैनिटीज के प्रोफेसर पे बैठ के नीचे ने ये बोला, पर कार्ल मार्क्स ने वो बोला, पर ये जो मुंह से जो बायोगैस निकलता है ना, बायोगैस प्लांट, लेफ्ट के मुंह के आगे ही एक बायोगैस प्लांट होता है. उनका एलिमेंट्री कैनाल पीछे नहीं एंड होता है, वो डबल अप होके यूटर्न होके इधर ही एंड होता है, तो इधर ही बायोगैस जनरेट होके ऐसे निकलता है. राइट में हमारा एलिमेंट्री कैनाल पीछे से निकलता है, जो बायोगैस बाहर से निकलता है, आगे से बस जो निकलना चाहिए वो निकलता है. ठीक है, 99% of the times they say very stupid things. That's a different matter because they are not trained in the humanities. But historically, you look at it, the humanities have always controlled the sciences. How many presidents, prime ministers, dictators, rulers do you know across history who were scientists? Okay. Rulers have always come from the humanities. Always.
Very interesting.
So, this is how the left controls power. So, what happens out here is the right in India needs to understand that this is everybody's fight. And the problem, of course, is the right tends to be very localized, whereas the left tends to be global because it tries to do a cut, copy, paste of the same idea across the globe, modified in certain ways. So this is why this Twitter fight is important for every Indian, because ultimately it will determine the course and action of the discourse later on. So I may not invite right-wingers over to my house for dinner, I'm very sorry because 99% of you are absolute. My dog is more intelligent than 99.99% of you right-wingers. But you are much more honest. You are probably as honest and loyal as my dogs are. I'm sorry, but that's just some home truths that the right needed to hear. The left are just much smarter than you, which is why you're better off being coolies to them. Deal with it.
All right. I don't know what the reactions to this episode are going to be. What do you think?
अरे गाली देने दो, सब तो गाली देते रहते हैं, मेरा क्या जाता है, मैं खुद भी गाली देता हूँ। जैसे बोलते हैं ना, जियो और जीने दो, वैसे गाली दो और गाली देने दो।
What do you think, Amy?
I think honesty is the best policy.
Okay.
Whatever you feel, you should have the courage to say it out.
All right, Abhijit, thank you for another very entertaining, controversial as usual, and honest. And thank you. It's going to be an exciting few days. What's going to happen with Twitter? All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend.